So I found out about the La La Land audition from my drummer. He had a contact at Lionsgate who was just a friend, a trumpet player, a musician, who was looking for more people to listen to. So he referred me to our vocal contractor, Jasper Randall, and then Jasper had me audition. So it was sort of just a chain through knowing people, and it was very coincidental, like most things are in the music industry. The audition was terrifying. Well, because I was terrified, not because it was terrifying, I suppose. I had just had sinus surgery 2 weeks prior. So I even thought, like, should I say no because I am sort of vocally compromised? But I'm glad I didn't because I was fine. Like, it wasn't surgery on my vocal cords. So, but I'd had a septoplasty and a turbinate reduction because I'd had such little air. So it was really like they fixed the inner, like the pathway. So it was all messy in there. It was a mess. So I just took some ibuprofen and didn't tell them I'd had surgery. And went in, and it was fine. I mean, I was very nervous, but I was also not as nervous and terrified as I would have been had I known the weight of what it was, because I had done everything I could to, like, they gave me the track ahead of time, and I memorized everything I could. It was actually an audition for 3 different spots in the film, 3 different characters or songs, and so I didn't get any sheet music, so I just learned it by ear. And they had said, yeah, learn every part, so I even went through and I transcribed all the chorus parts, because I didn't know what they wanted me to sing, so I learned the whole thing. It was at the producer's house in his home studio, which was really nice. And the composer, Justin Hurwitz, was there, but I didn't know what anybody looked like. And so they said to the composer, they were like, this is our accompanist for the day. And they said accompanist. And I know, like, between them, they were like, haha, we just called him the accompanist. But I was like, cool, you're an accompanist. Wow, that's like a tough job. You know, when people come in unprepared. And he was like, I'm the composer. And then I was like, well, I didn't get that job. But he didn't care. He thought it was funny. And I did get the job, so it was certainly not a perfect, like, it wasn't like everything went perfectly. Like, even if there were things that weren't ideal about, me, like, putting my foot in my mouth, I still performed well, so wound up getting it. It was all recorded. And really, when you go in, I would say most of them are, because then they're going and playing it for producers as well. So the audition was recorded, and it was also 2-picture because the film had already been completed. So I was, for the first time ever, following the actress Reshma Gajjar, who plays the dancer that I sang for in the opening. I was trying to follow her mouth while I sang, which was very tricky to do for the first time. But they wound up using parts of it, I think, in the final film. I don't know exactly which parts, but they had said that some of the audition was kept. So kind of cool. When I did the actual job, it was at a recording studio in Burbank, Igloo Music. So it was at more of a formal studio, but it was really similar process. When I received the call saying I got it, I was like, oh, wow, that's not what I expected, but great. It wasn't like I thought, I did a terrible job, I didn't get it. But it was more like, just statistically, I'm like, well, I'm never that person that's like, I nailed it, I'm perfect for the job. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, I know I'd be great for this job. If it's meant to be mine, I'll get it. But at the time, I was like all in my head about it. And I was super excited that I got there, didn't know which of the 3 parts that I got until I got there. So I memorized them all again. But then it was that first one. So also 2-picture. And I think I probably did it probably about 100 times because they wanted to not comp it. The goal was everything was supposed to be very, off the cuff and not, even though, like, they obviously have a choreographed dance scene on a highway, they wanted to have a complete take, like someone had just spontaneously been singing this. And they would actually say, okay, now do it this time. I forget how. It was probably a good minute of material. But they would say, change this, this, and this, and then go. And then I'd have to remember every change and every, like, it was actually probably the hardest session still that I've ever done. But it was really a good kind of challenge. They still were kind of deciding whether they wanted to keep the demo singer or me. And then I went back in and did it again with some changes. And so I did the final in 2 different sessions, but not knowing if they'd keep me or if they'd, like, toss it out at some point. And then I didn't know until the trailer came out. so I spent the whole summer going, oh. And now when that happens, I just go, okay, I'll find out later, whatever. But the first one's always rough.